My stepdaughter said I was too controlling for asking her not to drink in the house, so I stopped controlling anything, and the first time she needed a sober adult at 2 a.m., every call went to her biological parents. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Reddit Visuals. I used to think being a good stepdad just meant showing up and filling the gaps someone else left behind. You work hard, you provide, you try to be steady, and eventually people see that, right? Yeah. That was before I got called controlling for not wanting spilled vodka and vomit on my hardwood floors. Before I got told I was ruining her mental health because I dared to say, not in my house. So here's how I went from being the guy who answered every late night call to the guy who put my phone on silent and let her figure out what family really looks like when the fun stops. I'm 45, been with my wife Lisa for 10 years. When we met, she had a little girl named Haley, who was 9 at the time, shy, bookish, a little wary of me, and glued to her mom's hip. Her biological father, Derek, was the fun dad. You know the type. Shows up every other weekend with junk food and no rules. Disappears when things get hard. Posts photos like he's father of the year. I didn't come in trying to replace anybody. I just did things like homework help, school pickups when Lisa's shift ran late, science fair projects, sitting in the audience at every recital where Derek sent a last-minute, "Sorry, something came up." I never made a big deal of it. I just stepped in. Fast forward 10 years. Haley is 19, in community college, living at home to save money. I pay most of the mortgage. Lisa contributes what she can. Haley contributes vibes, I guess. We're in a decent suburb, nothing fancy, but I worked my way up from apprentice electrician to running my own small electrical contracting business. I'm not rich, but I'm comfortable. I'm also not a drinker. My dad was an alcoholic. My childhood smelled like stale beer and sounded like doors slamming at 2 a.m. I've been sober since I was 21, not from addiction, but from watching what it did to everyone around me. So one of my non-negotiable house rules has always been simple. No alcohol in the house for anyone under 21, and no drunk people stumbling through my front door. I don't care if you experiment at parties, you're going to make your own mistakes. But you will not turn my home into a frat house. For most of high school, this wasn't much of an issue. Haley wasn't a big partier, at least not that I knew. Then she graduated, got a job at a bar and grill, and suddenly every friend she had was almost 21, or had a fake ID. There were new outfits, new attitudes, and new phrases like, "You're being so controlling," whenever anyone said no. The first real incident happened on a Friday night around midnight. Lisa and I were upstairs watching a show winding down. I heard the front door open and the unmistakable sound of too loud whispering, the kind you do when you're already drunk and think you're subtle. I paused the TV and listened. Giggles, bottles clinking, the thud of someone bumping into the entry table. I went downstairs and found Haley and 3 of her co-workers in the kitchen. One was sitting on the counter, shoes still on. Another was halfway through opening my fridge, and there were 2 bottles of cheap vodka and something neon blue on the island. Haley saw me and rolled her eyes as I'd just ruined the vibe by existing. "Oh my God, James, relax," she said, waving a hand. "We're just having a few drinks. We're being responsible." I looked at the vodka, looked at the girl swaying on my counter, and then looked at my wife's nice white cabinets. "No," I said calmly. "You're not drinking in my house. Your few drinks already happened wherever you came from. You can hang out, you can make some food, but the alcohol stays capped and leaves with you." Her friend snorted. "Dude, my mom lets us drink at home because it's safer. You're being like super extra right now." I didn't even look at her. "I'm not your mom, and you're not my insurance company. Everyone, put your shoes back on. Bottles get put back in that tote bag. You're welcome to hang out in the living room if you're quiet, but nobody is opening another bottle in this house." Haley's eyes went hard. "Wow, okay. This is why I hate being here. You're so controlling. I'm an adult. You can't tell me what to do with my own body." I took a breath. "You're right," I said. "I can't control what you do with your body. I can control what happens in my house. And I'm doing that right now." She launched into a whole speech about how normal parents let their kids drink at home because at least then they're safe, about how Derek would never police her like this. "He trusts me," she said. "You just want to control everything." Lisa came down when she heard the raised voices. "I expected backup. I got something else." James, she said, tight smile, eyes darting between us. Maybe we can compromise? It's late, she's home, she's safe. What if they just have one drink and go to bed? I stared at her. We've had this conversation, I said quietly. I don't want alcohol in the house, especially not with underage girls who aren't even ours. Haley crossed her arms and muttered, You just like having control. I let the girls call a rideshare, watched them shuffle out and cleaned up the sticky rings on the counter. I didn't blow up. I didn't slam anything. I just went to bed feeling like I'd been demoted from parent to buzzkill landlord. The next morning at breakfast, Haley came down with sunglasses on and an attitude. She sat, scrolled her phone, then casually said, I think I'm going to move in with Dad. He actually treats me like an adult and doesn't freak out if I drink a White Claw. I put my coffee down. You're welcome to move in with your dad, I said. But if you live under this roof, the rule is no drinking in the house. That's not punishment, that's my boundary. One I've had since you were 9. She shot back, Yeah, well, maybe your boundary is actually controlling behavior. I've been reading about this stuff. You can't just impose rules on adults. I said, If your understanding of adulthood is that you can do whatever you want in someone else's home without consequences, you're not as grown as you think. Lisa told me to calm down. Haley stomped off. The word controlling floated behind her like smoke. For a few weeks it became a cold war. Passive-aggressive comments, slammed doors, Derek sending texts like, Hey man, maybe ease up. She's 19, she's gonna drink. Better at home than driving. I sent back, You're welcome to have her drink at your home anytime you want, and left it there. Then came the great family meeting. Lisa came home from work one evening and said, We need to talk, all 3 of us. I already knew this wasn't going to be good because she had that conflict-avoidant tightness around her eyes. We sat at the dining table. Haley had a notebook like she was presenting a case. So, she began, I wanted to talk about house rules because they're honestly affecting my mental health. I feel like I can't breathe here. I'm constantly worried about doing something wrong. I feel like James is always watching me and trying to control my choices, especially about drinking. I'm an adult. I'm working on myself. This isn't okay. She said control and choice like they were magic words. Lisa jumped in, trying to play mediator. Maybe there's a middle ground, she said. Like, maybe you can agree that she can have a glass of wine with dinner or a drink with friends, as long as she's not throwing parties or getting wasted. That way she feels respected, and you still have boundaries. I listened to both of them talk like I wasn't even there, like they were negotiating with a prison warden, not with the guy who paid the bills they both took for granted. Finally, I said, Can I speak? Haley sighed. That's kind of the point of a conversation, James. I ignored that. Okay, I said. Let me lay something out. For the last 10 years, I've been the one who takes you to the doctor, answers when you call at midnight because your tire blew, and pays your phone bill so you can call me at all. When you got your wisdom teeth out, I took the day off and sat in the waiting room while your dad texted, How'd it go? From a sports bar. That's not controlling. That's parenting. That's being responsible. She shifted in her seat. Lisa looked down. I don't micromanage your clothes, your friends, your classes, your job, I went on. I've had exactly one hard rule, and it comes from watching alcohol burn my childhood to the ground. No drinking in the house. That's it. If that single boundary makes me controlling and unsafe to be around, then maybe we need to reconsider what my role is here. Haley cut in. You keep bringing up my phone bill and rides like you owe me. It's manipulative. Just because you do nice things doesn't mean you get to control my life. And honestly, you're not even my real dad, so I don't know why you think you get to set all these rules. There it was. Years of rides, lunches, late-night pickups, talks in the car after bad days at school, packed into one sentence and tossed out like trash. I sat back. Something clicked in a quiet, terrifyingly calm way. Okay, I said softly. If that's how you feel, I hear you. You're an adult. You don't want me controlling anything. So I'm going to give you exactly what you're asking for. She frowned. What's that supposed to mean? It means from now on, I'm stepping back. You're right. I'm not your real dad. So I won't act like one. I'm not your backup plan, your late night ride, your emergency contact. You want freedom? You've got it. I'm done being the safety net you resent. Lisa started to protest. James, that sounds extreme. No, I said, still calm. Extreme is being called controlling for saying, don't smuggle vodka into my house. I'm not kicking her out. I'm not punishing her. I'm just letting go of control. That's what she wants, right? Haley muttered something about me being dramatic. I ended the conversation there. No yelling, no ultimatums. Just a quiet internal switch from stepdad on duty to man who pays the mortgage and minds his business. The next week, I did something that felt both petty and profoundly necessary. I made a list of every controlling thing I did: paying her phone bill, keeping her on my car insurance, being listed as her emergency contact at the doctors and school, getting text alerts when the bank card I funded is used. Then I went down that list and started removing myself. I called the phone company and explained I needed to transfer Haley's line to Lisa's account. It took about 20 minutes, but it was done. Her number stayed the same, but now the bill went to Lisa. I called my insurance agent and explained I was removing Haley from my policy. The agent asked where she'd be insured instead. I said, her mother will need to add her to her policy, or she can get her own. The agent warned me that if Haley drove without insurance, there could be legal issues. I said, her mother and I will work that out. Just remove her effective next billing cycle. Then I called Haley's college and asked to speak to the registrar. I explained that I needed to update the emergency contact information for my stepdaughter. They said only the student could make those changes. So I texted Haley. I need you to update your emergency contact at school. Remove me, add your mom and Derek. Let me know when it's done. She texted back, why? I replied, because you said I'm not your real dad. So your real parents should be your emergency contacts. Please confirm when you've updated it. She didn't respond for 3 hours. Then, fine, whatever. I also texted Derek. Haley sees me as too controlling. I'm stepping back from being her emergency contact and primary support. From now on, please handle late-night calls and emergencies. Thanks. He sent back, lol, sure thing, man. Sounds good. I removed myself from the location sharing app we all used. I went into the family settings and disabled my access to her location. She could still see mine if she wanted, but I wouldn't be checking where she was anymore. To be clear, I didn't make a big speech about any of this. I just quietly reclaimed my time and the responsibilities I'd taken on. Lisa noticed when the phone bill jumped. She was annoyed, said it felt punitive. I said, you told me I was overstepping. I'm just putting her care back in her biological parents' hands. That's what everyone seems to want. Life moved on in small, sharp ways. Haley started staying out later. I didn't wait up. Lisa did sometimes, but I went to bed at 10 p.m. like a man with a 6 a.m. job. Haley went to study sessions that smelled suspiciously like tequila when she breezed past me in the hall. I didn't comment. The first crack showed up on a Tuesday afternoon. She called me at 3 p.m. from her own number while I was on a job site. I looked at my phone, watched it ring, and put it back in my pocket. She called again. I let it ring, then she left a voicemail. Hey, James, it's me. My car wouldn't start after my shift. I think the battery's dead or something. Can you come jump it? I'm still at work. Call me back? I didn't call back. I finished my job, drove home, and ate dinner. When I walked in, Lisa was in the kitchen on the phone, stressed. I don't know, she was saying. Call your father. He has jumper cables. I'm at work, Haley. I can't just leave. You're 19. You can figure something out. Try roadside assistance. Okay, bye. When she hung up, she looked at me. She called you. She did, I said, and you didn't answer. That's correct. James, her car's dead. She's stranded. She has 2 parents, I said. You and Derek. Between the 2 of you, I'm sure you can figure it out. Or she can call AAA. She's an adult. Lisa's jaw tightened. This is cruel. It's consistent, I said. She said I'm not her real dad. Real dads handle car trouble. So her real dad should handle this. Was it cold? Maybe. But it was also the first time in 10 years anyone but me had to deal with her car problems. Over the next few weeks, there were more little things. A bounced overdraft charge, a missed shift after a hangover, a frustrated text from her about a professor. I kept my mouth shut. It killed me to watch her hit walls I could have helped her avoid. But every time I almost stepped in, I remembered, "You're not even my real dad." Then came the night that really tested whether I was serious. It was a Saturday. Lisa was at her sister's overnight, helping with her newborn. I was alone in the house, enjoying the rare silence. I'd grilled some chicken, watched a game, and fallen asleep on the couch around 11. Sometime around 1:50 a.m., my phone started buzzing on the coffee table. I woke up disoriented. The screen lit up with Haley's name. I stared at it, half asleep. Every cell in my body wanted to answer. Old programming. Then another thought slid in. You told her you're not the on-call parent anymore. The phone buzzed until it went to voicemail. 30 seconds later, it buzzed again. Same name. My heart started pounding. Every horror story I've ever heard about drunk driving and assault flashed through my brain. What if she were in real danger? What if something terrible was happening? It stopped, started again. Third call. Then a text lit up the screen. Please answer. Need you. I picked up the phone, thumb hovering over the green button. Then I did something that's going to make some of you mad. I opened our family group text, the one with me, Lisa, and Derek. I typed, Haley is trying to reach me, but I'm not her emergency contact anymore. You two are. Please check your phones. I hit send. Derek saw it immediately. Typing bubble appeared. Then, got it. I put my phone on the coffee table, face down, and turned the ringer to vibrate. Not off. I couldn't do that. Just down. I told myself, if the police call, if a hospital calls, I will answer. But I will not be the guy who rescues her from the choices she made after calling me controlling. The calls stopped around 2:05. I sat there, awake and wired, until about 2:30. At some point, exhaustion won, and I dozed off. The next thing I remember is the sound of the front door opening at 3:47 a.m. I know because I checked the security system log later. I stayed still on the couch, lights off. The hallway light flicked on, and footsteps stumbled. I heard the unmistakable sound of someone trying very hard to be quiet and failing. Bag bumping wall, shoes kicked off, muffled curse. Then I heard a second voice, male, irritated. Derek. Next time, don't call me at 2 a.m., he snapped. I had to get out of bed, drive across town, and deal with your drunk friends. This is ridiculous. I called James first, Haley slurred. He didn't answer. Mom didn't answer either. What was I supposed to do? Figure it out before you get that drunk, Derek shot back. You're not a kid anymore. I'm not doing this again. You made your choices. Now you deal with them. I heard a door close. Guest bedroom. Then the front door locked again. She'd made it home safe. The next morning, I was up at my normal time making coffee. I heard her shuffle down around 9:30, looking like death in an oversized hoodie, mascara smeared under her eyes. You didn't answer, she said, voice rough. I poured my coffee. Good morning. I called you like 6 times, she went on. You always answer. Always. Why didn't you this time? I took a sip. Let the silence sit for a second. Because I'm not your emergency contact anymore, remember? I'm too controlling. I texted your parents. Your dad came and got you. That's the new arrangement. Her face crumpled, anger bleeding through the hangover. You left me stranded. I was outside a bar at 2 a.m. Do you know how dangerous that is? Anything could have happened to me. Yes, I said quietly. That's exactly why I used to pick you up. That's why I asked you not to drink, especially not to the point where you're stumbling around at 2 a.m. That was me being controlling, according to you. So I stopped. You want adult freedom? Adult freedom means the people responsible for you are the ones who brought you into this world. She blinked fast, tears starting. I didn't mean it like this. I just wanted you to stop freaking out over everything. I freak out, I said, because I've seen what happens when drunk people make decisions at 2 a.m. My father wrapped his car around a tree when I was 12. He lived barely. The passenger didn't. None of it started with, tonight I'm going to kill someone. It all started with, relax, it's just a few drinks. She stared at me, eyes glassy. So you just decided I wasn't your problem if something happened? I decided, I said carefully, that I'm not going to take more responsibility for your choices than you're willing to give me respect for. You chose to drink. You chose who your real family is. When things got scary, you reached for the man you say isn't your real dad. That's not on me. That's on you. She swallowed hard. Dad was mad the whole drive. He kept yelling at me. He said if I do this again, I'm on my own. Then don't do it again, I said simply. I thought you'd be there like always, she whispered. That hit harder than I wanted it to. I softened my tone, but not my stance. I am here, I said. I'm in this house. I pay for this roof. But being here doesn't mean letting you treat me like trash until you're scared. It doesn't mean doing all the work while taking all the blame. You want me to act like your dad? Start treating me like one. Not a wallet, not a taxi service, a person. She sank onto a stool, head in her hands. For a long moment, she didn't say anything. I'm sorry, she finally said, voice small. I didn't think about it like that. I just saw my friends' parents letting them drink, and I thought you were being unreasonable. I didn't think about all the other stuff you do. That's the point, I said. You didn't think. That's why parents set rules. But it's your life. You get to decide how many more 2 a.m.s like last night you want. Just don't expect me to be on call for a role you don't even respect. We sat in silence. She didn't argue. She didn't storm off. She just sat there, looking younger than she had in months. Over the next week, something shifted. I overheard her on the phone with a friend. No, we can't come back to my place. My stepdad doesn't allow drinking in the house. Yeah, I know, but whatever. There was acceptance in her tone instead of outrage. A few days later, she knocked on my office door. Hey, she said, can I talk to you? I closed my laptop. Sure. She sat, fiddling with a bracelet. I went to the registrar today and changed my emergency contact back to you, she blurted. At school and at my doctor's office. I told Mom too, and I haven't had anything to drink since that night. Not because you told me not to, because that feeling of being out there and realizing you were just done. I never want to feel that again. I nodded. I appreciate you telling me. But changing your emergency contact doesn't change the house rule. No alcohol here. And if you end up drunk at 2 a.m. again, I might not answer. I'm not a service. I'm a person. I know, she said. I get it now. And I'm sorry I said you weren't my real dad. That was really messed up. I shrugged. Biologically, you're right, but being a dad isn't about biology. It's about choices. I chose to be here. You don't have to call me dad, but you do have to treat me like a human being with boundaries. She gave a small, rueful laugh. Deal. We're not magically fixed. This isn't a movie. She still gets snippy sometimes. I still get tired. Lisa and I ended up going to couples counseling because we had a massive fight about how quickly she took Haley's side during that family meeting, about how easy it is to make the step-parent the bad cop and then call them controlling for doing the hard work. We're working through it. But that night at 2 a.m. changed something fundamental. It established that my boundaries aren't optional. That if you call someone controlling long enough for doing the hard parts of caring, one day they might just stop. And you're going to find out real quick which parent actually shows up when the party ends. So that's my story. I went from being the too controlling stepdad for asking my 19-year-old not to drink in my home, to stepping back completely and letting her biological parents handle the 2 a.m. emergency call. Was I wrong for not answering those calls that night? For letting her see what life looks like when the controlling one isn't on duty? Or was that the only way she'd understand the difference between control and care? Let me know in the comments what you would have done, because I know a lot of you have been the responsible one in a house full of people who don't want rules until they need rescue. And if you enjoyed this story and want more real messy moments like this, please hit that like button and subscribe to Reddit Visuals. It really helps the channel grow.